Hey, everybody, welcome to the Jim Master Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Variety Talk Show Series. How is everybody doing today? It's so good to see you and you and you and you. You didn't know I can see you through the screen, right? Some of you are all dressed up for our show, and we really appreciate that. Some of you are biz casual. Some of you are rather casual. And some of you I see in there, you're in your pajamas or your shorts or something, huh? You didn't know I could also see over the... could you imagine if I did? How do you know what I'm wearing below the shirt, right? It's all theater of the mind in the broadcasting world. Great to have you here. We're having a busy, busy day. It was on the air all day on radio. And then we're preparing for television shoots, actually heading out next week to Sacramento, California, and then Reno, Nevada. And then the following week, we had moved a shoot that was supposed to happen at Fort Lauderdale, Florida, last weekend to 2 weeks from now, because of the hurricane. Again, we're still sending our love and prayers to all in Florida and the Carolinas who are affected by Hurricane Ian. Some of our viewers, our lovely viewers who are big fans of our show, watch all the time and support our show, have been affected seriously by the hurricane. So we're sending them our prayers, our healing, our love. And, I mentioned Mary Bishop, who she and her family live in Pine Island, Florida, which was a bullseye area. And, she sent us all kinds of stuff. I have the Pine Island mug I showed last night. She has sent some beautiful things over the years from Pine Island, Florida, which is in Southwest Florida. Beautiful place, wonderful spot to, enjoy your life. And she actually posted through everything. I mean, they basically lost everything. And she's now with family, I think, in Naples, and there's other family trying to help in Massachusetts for them. And she said, through all of this, I mean, no Wi-Fi, no electricity, the house is not there, all these things. And she still somehow manages to get through to our show as we're sending her love and healing and prayers to tell us that she misses being with all the lovedies. She's missing the wonderful shows, she says, and she can't wait to be back here. She's finding a way to be back with us, even though she has a lot of other more pressing things. Mary, you are absolutely amazing. You are truly a lovedy, and Godspeed to you and the family and everybody again affected by the hurricane. Again, if you would like to comment during our show, the show is live. Yes, we are here in the New York area as well. We are along the southern New England coast between New York and Boston. Feel free to do so. Just subscribe to the YouTube channel. When you subscribe to the YouTube channel, there's a little gift for you. You get to comment live in our JMS Lovely chat room, which is really, really cool. You get to actually comment live in the chat room. And that's something special we do for all of our viewers. So check that out. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. It doesn't cost a thing. Just click that red button, like, comment, and subscribe. That really helps us out here at the Jim Master Show Live. Hope you guys are doing well. And we've got our shows earlier now for convenience, which is really good because we're now in the fall time of the year. So it's already dark outside here. So we moved the shows a little bit earlier, which I know some people really, really love. And especially those who are overseas that watch. We have not only viewers that watch here in the United States, but also Canada and throughout Europe and Africa and Asia, New Zealand, Australia. And we welcome you all. We also welcome Lara Scott to the show. She's a fellow broadcaster. Yes, Los Angeles and San Diego radio personality, and she celebrates Hollywood and all things Disney. Matter of fact, Lara is actually in her broadcast studio of K-Earth 101 in Los Angeles, where you can hear her weekdays. And they're adding a station too, in addition, of course, to K-Earth 101 in LA. She's also on Sunny 98.1 in San Diego every day, covering all of Southern California on the air. You've probably had an opportunity to hear her if you're out in that area. Now, she herself was born in Southwest Florida. So when I'm talking about Hurricane Ian, she probably has people that she personally knows affected by the hurricane as well. Then born in Southwest Florida, headed to Oregon after high school. She got into radio in Bend, Oregon, after calling a local station on a dare from a friend, and then continued her broadcasting career in Portland. After graduating with a Bachelor of Science in Philosophy from Portland State University, she moved to San Francisco to become the music director and nighttime air personality at KZQZ 95.7. She then spent almost 7 years as the midday host at KYSR Star 98.7 in Los Angeles, followed by almost a decade in mornings and middays at KFSH 95.9 The Fish. Her passion for preservation and history led her to Old Town Music Hall in El Segundo. And I don't know if you know about that fabulous place, but it really is amazing. This is a great shot of our very special guest, Lara Scott. That is a really cool place if you do love history as well. In El Segundo, it's a historic theater that shows classic films on the big screen every weekend. And she now serves on their advisory board. The theater was also featured in her first book, From the Corner of Hollywood and Divine, Your Guide to 30 Old Hollywood-inspired spots in Southern California. Lara was also the 2008 President's Volunteer Service Award winner, which was presented by recording artist Michael W. Smith. On behalf, the last time we saw one of his concerts, we drove down to Virginia Beach. Yeah, he was performing at Virginia Beach, and it was really fantastic. She got that award on behalf of President George W. Bush for her charity work. And in her free time, she could be found hanging out with her young son and daughter, snowboarding, horseback riding, shopping at vintage thrift stores, yoga class, and of course, she hangs out at Disneyland. Yes, of course, Disneyland. And I know we have a lot of fans of Disney and everything Disney. So we're going to talk about Disney. We're also going to talk about her love for everything Hollywood. So we're celebrating Disney. We're celebrating Hollywood. We're celebrating radio and broadcast. Again, here are the stations that she's with. K-Earth 101, the greatest hits on Earth in Los Angeles, and also Sunny 98.1. And it's another great station in San Diego, San Diego's greatest hits. And then there's a third station, a big station, that's going to be added to the mix as well. Again, here are some cool shots of her on the air. She is in the studio. She has a lot of fun with her listeners on the air. She loves it. And as I mentioned, she's flying high with her career and her love for Hollywood and everything Disney. We're going to talk about it. She has an opportunity to be involved in so many cool things, celebrating it all. We got some really cool shots that we're going to throw in here. But first, why don't you join me? I see a lot of comments coming in here, built up. Feel free to comment if this is your first time watching the Jim Masters Show live. Oh, we got to show this one too. That's her official headshot. That's a really nice shot. She's got a great photographer, I tell you. Good stuff. We'll show more too and sprinkle in some other cool treats for you here on the show. But celebrating Hollywood and Disney. And again, if you want to comment during the show, feel free. It's so cool to have you here. So, all right, let's take you to Hollywood, to Los Angeles, and celebrate with our very special guest who just got off the air moments ago. And this is going to rush to get her son and daughter, picking them up. So we're going to have her in and out. And here she is. Lara Scott on the Jim Masters Show. How are you?
Hi. Well, speaking of celebrating things, congratulations, Jim, on you were saying 800 shows.
Could you imagine that? That's something that is, I just can't believe it. In 2.5 years, we have done 800 episodes of the Jim Masters Show live series. And you, celebrating 800 episodes, you are our 800th episode. Wow.
Yay. I am so honored to be here. I was saying this to you before. You have such a comforting presence, Jim. I'm not surprised that Mary wants to get back and be here with the whole Levity family. And shout out to Mary. I had some great friends that lived on Pine Island when I was growing up. I'll just touch on this really quickly. I grew up in Fort Myers. I spent just about every week of my teenage years laying out on the beach, on Fort Myers Beach, Sanibel, Captiva. My thoughts and my prayers are with everybody in that area that's been affected.
Do you still have folks that are there, friends, family, anybody that's still there, colleagues that you know?
Yeah, my dad still lives there in the house that I grew up in, and he's not too far from the Caloosahatchee River. If you know the area, one thing that's so wonderful about it is, there's water everywhere. There's a back bay,
Yeah,
there's a
it's a
canal, there's a
beautiful
river,
area.
there's a
Yeah.
beach. Yeah, I'm always freezing in California actually, since I grew up on the Gulf of Mexico. Like, I can't go in the water here because it's too cold. But just the
Pacific
most
actually is. Yeah, I think it's colder than the Atlantic. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, it's so cold, and I mean, it's beautiful out here too, but I'm still a Florida girl at heart, and my dad was extremely fortunate. He evacuated inland, and
Ah,
the house
good.
came through it. We have some roof damage, all the screens got ripped off, palm trees down all over the place, and a lot of debris, but I'm thankful that he's okay.
That's a blessing considering
Yeah.
what's happened to Fort Myers, Sanibel Island, Pine Island, Sarasota, and a good deal of Florida with all that flooding. We have family and friends and colleagues throughout many areas of Florida, and immediate family that's in the northeast part, and they're fine, the house fine, everything good, no damage, nothing. But their street was underwater.
Mhm.
So that's a little bit of an interesting thing, when you when you see that that rising a little bit, and retention ponds and things like that they have in Florida rising. But that was a heck of a storm and a real wake up call. You know, the climate is changing a little bit here, and somebody's angry at us humans.
Well, I'll tell you this, Jim, like, people will say things about social media. I've never been affected personally uh, by a tragedy of this proportion. A lot of people know that I'm from Fort Myers. People that I barely know were reaching out to see how I
Yeah.
was doing, how my family was
Yes.
doing, how my dad was doing. And
Yes.
it touched me, like, I'm still so emotional when I think about
Oh,
it, and
sure.
just to see all the organizations, all the people helping out. It's like that great Mister Rogers quote about, "In those tough times, look for the helpers," and
That's
that's what I
right.
was sharing with my kids through this. Like, we're gonna hear the stories of the heroes that rushed in to save people. We're gonna hear really incredible stories that come out of this, and as things start to come back, as they start to rebuild, and I think that's what we have to focus on now is the people that are stepping up and willing to help and to give.
Absolutely, absolutely right. Beautifully said, my friend. You again, we're fellow broadcasters who are on the air, and you are in the K Earth 101 Los Angeles studio. Cool.
Let's turn it a little bit so you can
Yeah,
see
here it is. Let's take a wide.
our little Studio B where we do a lot of stuff. So there's our microphone. Let me show you the board. So maybe it looks impressive, but I actually use about 5 of those. I don't even know what they all do. But yeah, we are able to broadcast from here. It's still crazy to me, Jim, that I can be here talking into a microphone and people actually hear that. A lot of times I don't really realize it's going out until someone's like, "Oh yeah, that story you told about your cat, or you were sharing something about your kids." But the thing that I was always told was to pretend that you're talking to a friend, a best friend, somebody that's really supportive. So
That's
I hope
right.
that when people listen, whether it's on K Earth or Big or Sunny, that they feel like they're hanging out with a friend. I hope that I can be as comforting to them as you are to me when I watch the show.
Here's our friend Jennifer Lynn O'Hara watching. I sent her the link and I said that you were on tonight. She goes, "Hi, Jim. Hi, Lara. Lara, love your book, From the Corner of Hollywood and Divine." We're going
Thank
to
you.
talk about that. And Jennifer was a guest on our show. I don't know if you saw that episode. Wow, was she terrific and a lot of fun. We just had a really, really cool time. Nice to see you, Jennifer. And welcome back to the Jim Masters Show live. And you're amazing too. Um, Broadcasting, radio, terrestrial radio. And now there's Big. We talked about Sunny, talked about K Earth. Tell us about Big happening too, huh? That's big news.
It is big news. Yeah, it's an amazing station. Pretty much all the stations I'm on, we are primarily 80s with a little bit of 70s, a little bit of 90s, creeping into the 2000s with classic hits. And the format, it seems to do best when we focus on music from about 30 years prior. So maybe the high school days. And now it's really interesting because things like Guns N' Roses, Paradise City from Guns N' Roses, Green Day are kind of making it into the classic hits format. And I think especially after the past couple years that we've been through, it hopefully brings back a lot of great memories for people when they hear
Yes.
that music. Yeah, and makes them feel good when they hear it.
It really, really does. And, it brings you back to a different time and place, maybe a little simpler. And I just think it's really cool. How did you first get into broadcasting? When I was a kid, I was, running around the house with a cassette recorder, pretending to while I was actually doing interviewing, and we were doing plays in the garage, and we were doing, a family, my sister and I and everybody, and neighborhood kids, we would do plays in the garage, we do plays in our bedroom, we do plays in the backyard. We would, always doing different things that were creative. And then started to really get into knowing all the radio stations and all the TV stations, the call letters and the news anchors and the announcers and the reporters and the radio people, especially here in the New York area, growing up with, the New York market, all the legends too. And then just always like mimicking and doing all of that when I was younger, and just got a real taste for it. And then I went into high school and was in the school newspaper, the radio station, or, everything to do with it. College, the same thing, the TV station, radio station, debate team, all of those things, interning in television and radio. How about you? But I also studied architecture. My backup was to be an architect and a designer, which I still love. But the broadcast stuff was always in me. How about you? What was your entree into it? And were you a kid who was always pretending to be a broadcaster?
Oh, yeah, and I love hearing your story, Jim, and I found that so many longtime broadcasters that I talked to, it was there when they were kids. They almost didn't even realize what they were doing, but they were training. They were getting really good training. Did you ever listen to Dan Ingram? Big
Ah,
Dan Ingram?
yes, yes,
Amazing.
yes.
One of my favorites. I love the jocks from New York City. And
Oh,
yeah, for me, I
yes.
was a really quiet kid. In fact, all of my Florida friends could not believe it when I came back to the 10-year high school reunion. And, what are you doing? I'm on the radio in LA. And they were like, but you never even spoke in class. Like, how are you
How are
talking
you?
on the radio? You didn't even know you could speak? But yeah, I was a really quiet kid, but I loved music. And Duran Duran was my favorite, Def Leppard, Madonna, Prince, Michael Jackson. And I mean, 24/7 listening to a station in Fort Myers, Wink FM 97. And they've
Oh,
changed
yes,
formats. They were like the big top 40 station.
yes.
And I remember they had a lady on in the morning named Paula Marie Spencer that went by PMS. I didn't even know what that meant at the time, but I thought she had a cool nickname. Yeah. And the night jock was Party Marty Berger. And I remember, begging my mom to take me to the Edison Mall to go see Party Marty, who was broadcasting live from the junior department on a Saturday. And I was too scared to approach him. So I just kind of hung out in back and watched him. And he was actually doing everything live. He was playing the music. And it was so neat to see that. So I remember going home, and I also had like it was like a little stereo set where you could plug a microphone in and you could record onto the little cassette. So I would play the
Wasn't that
record.
great?
Yeah, talk into the microphone and pretend that I was on Wink FM 97 doing the top
Yes.
10 at 10. I did Mom's Top 10 Countdown. Against All Odds by Phil Collins was always number one. And I would share little tidbits. I would take notes when I was listening to the radio. And I would, my dad, I'd be like, Dad, you got to go get 16 magazine. Duran Duran is on the cover. And I knew when the magazines came out, my dad had to go get them. And again, I was prepping. I mean, that's still what I do now is take notes, and I write down things about artists that I see that I might want to share, or events that are happening. So I did all that just for fun. Again, I was a really quiet kid. I didn't have a ton of friends. And that was a way for me to express myself with my
Exactly
stuffed
right.
animals and my Barbies as the audience.
Well, they say a lot of performers, actually, actors, actresses, singers, comedians, when they're off stage or off air, they go home and they're quiet and have a whole other life. David Letterman was classic for that. David Letterman would go into the city and do his thing, and then he'd come back to his home in Connecticut, and you really wouldn't see or hear from him. He just came back to his life, and was quiet, almost reclusive. And a lot of people, sometimes it is, when you're in the public eye, it is tough to maintain the balance, because you could be in the supermarket, and I'm sure I've had it at Home Depot and supermarkets, and you get recognized either through the voice or the visual. And it is a beautiful thing, isn't it? When people come up to you and they're like, I just want to tell you, I've had letters from shut-ins who wrote me saying that on the stations I was on, and still am on, you're the only thing I listen to. I just, I never get out of the house, but you comfort me. You just do something that really gives me great joy. And I like the entertainment and the whole thing. And when you hear that from people, you realize the power of what is done, but the reach and how you reach them on such a deeper level than just the periphery entertainment value, right? And that's the beauty of the kinds of things you and I are doing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful, Jim. I mean, what an honor that people invite us into their day, that we're a part of their day. I've had people say, okay, I know that it's time to go have my second cup of coffee when I hear you come on because it's 10 a.m. And then when Greg Sims, who's amazing, he's on over there right now.
Yes.
When he comes on, I know I'm almost done with work. They're almost like using us as their clock. And we're with them through the rhythm of the day. And especially through COVID, when everybody was at home, people would say, hearing your voice and hearing all the jocks that I know made me realize, okay, things are going to be okay. Like if K Earth is still on and they're still there, we're going to get through this and I'm not alone.
Absolutely. Did you ever get trapped at a station? I did. And people will say, oh my God, people that aren't in the industry might say, and maybe a few that are in it, oh the God, you guys must have hated that. We were in a blizzard. It was not supposed to be a blizzard. I was on the FM. The other announcer, who was the program director, was on the AM, and one of the production, it was on a weekend. One of the production guys was in the back editing and producing commercials. So all of a sudden, snow started, and it was incredible. It was intense, and the snow didn't stop. It was a freak storm, and we noticed that our cars were half buried in snow, and the weather bulletins were coming in, and all the alarms were going off for the emergency alert system coming down from a parent station. And all of a sudden, we had to shift all the programming, and we were on the air delivering live updates for everybody listening about bridges closed and this is closed and the Red Cross says this and stay off the roads and 12 to 14 inches of snow and stick with us and all of this. We had to shift hats, roll up our sleeves, throw out everything else, and just get right in there and do it. And the general manager called and the program director called and the chief engineer called, and they said, please guys, stay there and stay on the air, even though it's past the shifts that you
Hmm.
have. Don't worry, we'll take care of you with that. People are listening to the stations right now. This is when we really step in and step up. And you're the only guys that are there. Nobody can get to the station. We couldn't get out of the station because the snow was over the cars. And we were there all night long, overnight, on the air, running to get news feed and, doing the alert system and everything. And it was fantastic because we knew, well, first of all, I love live. I love the urgency. I love when something's happening, trying to be one of the people that fixes it, corrects it, smooths it, makes it easier for people. And that's one of those incredible opportunities where you have to do that. And then knowing that the station was depending on us and the listeners all around, some of this was potentially life-saving information
Hmm.
about getting off the roads and watch your generators and all these things, kind of like what they're experiencing in Florida right now in the Carolinas. Did you ever have a situation like that at all at any of the stations where something urgent did happen and you had to stay there and read the bulletins and stay longer and just do what you had to do to get through it all?
My snow story is a little bit different because I was working at an AC station in Portland, Oregon called K103. And Portland, they rarely get snow there. And this was back in the 90s. And we had a freak snowstorm and it shut the whole city down. And the program director, who's the boss, happened to be at the radio station. He decided to go have some drinks and I think was calling people from the pub. I think it was St. Nick's maybe in Portland. And they were, trying to figure out who can come in. Nobody had snow tires, nobody had chains, nobody was prepared for that. I happen to live downtown. I went to Portland State, as you said in the intro, and I lived right downtown. And if anybody knows Portland, the radio station was at Pioneer Place, right there at Pioneer Square. So I trudged through the snow It was dark out. There was nobody around. It was eerily beautiful. And, I had the only set of footprints, and I trudged through the snow and made it to the radio station. And I think it's one of those moments, Jim, where I was just in the right place at the right time and really was able to show them what I could do because there was nobody else around to do it. And like you were saying, you kind of realize, like, man, it's all on me. And that sense of community, the relationships, hopefully, that you've built with the listeners, like, they trust you and you know that you can't let them down. So you stay up, you show up, you do whatever it takes to serve them.
That's exactly right. That is exactly what it's all about. And it's an incredible thing. And a lot of times when you tell those stories to people, they're like, "What? You got stuck at work?" But if you love what you do, it's not necessarily work. You are right now, for our audience's knowledge, if they're not sure about the broadcasting business, you are in the number one. The number one is New York, but you're in the number two broadcasting market, basically in the world, which is Los Angeles, New York, then LA, and then of course also on in San Diego. Tell us about that, and we'll talk about Disney and Hollywood too, folks. But tell us about the trajectory that took you to the number two broadcast market in the land, LA.
Oh, wow. It's still amazing, because in some ways it's the same thing I was doing in my bedroom when I was a kid with the microphone and the records and sharing the information. But yeah, so I did that as a kid. I was going to go to the College of Charleston in beautiful South Carolina and decided instead to go to Oregon because I had met a boy. And I thought my dad was just going to never speak to me again when I announced that, hey, I'm going to be in Oregon.
You
I'll
know
go
what's
to community
kind
college
of
out
cool
here.
and cute? When you said I met a boy, you did a little bit of a curtsy when you did
Oh,
that.
met a boy.
I met a
Yeah.
boy.
Oh, Chris, he was so cute. Yeah. But he dumped me promptly. As soon as I blew up my life, he cheated on me with a girl that ran the arcade. And I realized that I was there and okay, I'm going to have to make this work.
If he's
So
watching now, you made a big mistake. Look where she is.
I wish them both well. Yes, everything
Yes.
was fine. But, I realized sometimes those things that you think are horrible are designed to move you to the next thing. I think it's
Yes.
important to keep that in mind. You live long enough. It doesn't make it any easier in the moment, but if you can just try to keep that in mind that maybe this is to send me in a direction or get me to a place where I'm finally willing to listen and make a change that I wouldn't have been open to before. And, I
Right.
look back now, yeah, the hard times I went through, they all pointed to something better. But yeah, so I was in Oregon. I looked into starting community college. I was working as a busser in a restaurant. I was working at a sandwich shop, running the sandwiches out to people because I was terrible making food and I couldn't touch the food. I was working for a real estate company. And at a party one night, and a couple of girlfriends were talking about this new morning host that was on in Bend, Oregon, which at the time was, I think, the smallest rated radio market in the entire country. It was
And
very tiny, very conservative. And this morning show host had caused a big scandal by saying the word condom. And when his
uh,
boss told him he couldn't say condom, he came on and was like, condom, 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 condom.
yeah,
She thought
okay.
he sounded really cute. And, we were all about
But
17 or 18.
upper
So
management had another idea.
yeah, upper management thought differently, and
Yeah.
he was suspended. But they thought, Lara, if you get a job there, I can meet him, and then we'll fall in love.
Ah,
And somebody said, let's call the radio station right now. So it was in the evening. There was a live jock there, Kathy O. I called and she said, yes, actually, we're hiring. Call the business line tomorrow. And the morning show host was also the program director. I thought I would maybe end up working as office help. I had no thought that I would be on the air. I didn't even know how you would do something like that. So I came in for a meeting and immediately he asked me, do you have any on air experience? And I said, you mean like on the radio? He was like, yeah. And I said, well, I used to make DJ tapes for my mom when I was a kid. He was like, great, you're hired. You're, you're going to check. They were so desperate for people, Jim. Again, going
yeah,
back to just being in the right place at the right time.
right.
It was such a small market. They weren't looking for anybody with experience or anybody who knew what they were doing. They just needed a warm body to stand there and keep the radio station on the air and protect the license. So they trained me for a couple of hours, threw me on the air that weekend. I did a couple of hours live. I ran the Rick D's weekly top 40. One of my
Rick
heroes,
Dees,
Rick D.
yes.
And, I didn't know what to do, so I tried to copy Rick Dees. I was trying to remember the jocks that I'd listened to over the years, and I was absolutely awful. I would have 3 songs playing at once and then no songs, which we call dead air, when there's
Dead
nothing
air.
on the air.
That's a
I didn't know
problem.
what
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do with phone calls, but I kept showing up. I just kept showing up, and I did any shift they wanted me to do. If I needed to be there at 6 a.m. to deliver the snow and ski report, I was there at 6 a.m. I eventually got hired full-time overnights in Bend, Oregon. So I was there from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., 6 nights a week, and they had done the ratings and they found that no one was listening. Some of the like the country station had some listeners overnight, the rock station had some listeners overnight. We had none at Q94. And it was horrible, but it also freed me up to try different things and find who I was and try to find my authentic voice and figure out, okay, what is my sound going to be? Who am I going to be? What is the personality that I want to present? How do I want people to feel when they're listening? So it turned out to be a great thing and I did that for 3 years.
That's fantastic, huh? And here is LA, right? And then, of course, San Diego. And then you mentioned Big. So there is that
Mhm.
additional station coming into the mix.
Yeah, and, even taking it back to I was saying it's not that different from what I was doing when I was a kid. Even in those overnights in Little Bend, Oregon at 3 a.m. when I was trying to stay awake, I'd been awake for like a day and a half because I was in college and trying to do everything.
You're
It's
right.
still very much the same, and I hope that's encouraging for people who wanna start a podcast or wanna get into broadcasting. Start where you are because it's all going to pay off. And when I decided to move from Bend to Portland because I wanted to finish my degree, they didn't have a 4-year university there at that point. My boss at the time came in and said to me, "Enjoy this last shift because you're never going to work in radio again." I don't know what I'd done to make him mad, but I remember he said that to me, turned and left, and that was basically goodbye. And
Mm,
I don't know where the strength came from, but I just thought, I'll show you. I'm
oh,
gonna get to LA. I wasn't even thinking about New York. Just
right.
LA was like the closest big city I could think of. I'm gonna get to LA and I'm gonna show you that I can do this. So I moved to Portland and, I finished my shift there, moved to Portland, started working at the college radio station, which in the 90s, we had all that great music coming out of Seattle, the
Oh,
Pacific
yeah.
Northwest. Just, I mean, they ran that college station like the most professional station. It was awesome. And one day I'd gone into like the career office, the guidance office, and this was back in the day before we had everything online. They actually had a job posting board with like pieces of paper thumbtacked to the board. And I was looking through it and I saw that the station I mentioned earlier, K103, was looking for an overnight board op to work at 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. and then also 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. to run the board. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, okay, I'm going to try this." I ran home. Resumes were printed out on the nice paper, drove it into downtown Portland, handed it in. It was the last day that you could turn it in. And they called me. They said, "Okay, you've been on the air, you're overqualified, but if you're open to it, we'd love to have you." And so I came in. I wasn't on the air at that point. I was just simply running the music, which is what board opping means. You're running everything, but you're not actually talking. And was there and waited until, again, a snowstorm, until somebody couldn't make it. And they put me on the air and gave me a chance to do it. So that's, another thing I can share is that sometimes that first step isn't exactly what you want. But I do think one of the most important things is just get in the building, get your foot in the door. If it's radio, maybe there's a street team, like a promotional position that's hiring, a sales assistant, the front desk. How can you kind of get yourself into that orbit and start meeting people and showing them who you are?
So how did it end up where Los Angeles called you, or did you call them?
Uh, I probably sent the air check tapes, which is like samples of you on the radio, out. I
Right.
know I sent some to Z100 New York, and I think I got a rejection letter that I was very excited about. I was like, "Oh my god!" With the Z100 letterhead and everything.
Just to
Took it
get the
back like
letterhead is
just
fantastic.
yeah, I was so excited. So, I worked in Portland and, eventually learned how to schedule music and work with music scheduling software, talk to record labels, meet with artists. I was promoted to music director, and I was at a showcase in San Francisco for an artist named Eagle Eye Cherry, who had a terrific song called "Save Tonight." sitting next to the program director at a new station in San Francisco that said, "Hey, I don't know if you're looking for anything, but we need someone to do nights and do the music. Send me your info." So that was how I got to San Francisco. Again, it was just that going to an event, I had no thought that maybe I'll go to San Francisco, although I love that city. One of my favorite places in the
Beautiful
entire world.
place.
It's so beautiful.
It
Oh my God, I
is.
love San
Yeah.
Francisco.
Yeah.
And so I packed everything up. I was making so little money, Jim, that I had to sell books and CDs to get gas money to drive everything down to San Francisco. And my life was that radio station. I would be on the air from 6 to 10. I would usually have a club gig that would start at 11. So I'd
Yeah.
work usually at the club till 1 or 2 in the morning, come back to the radio station, schedule music at 6 or 7 in the morning, go home and go to sleep. Unless it was Friday or Saturday, then I'd go out again after that. Sleep till noon, go back to the radio station, start the meetings. And I did that for about a year and a half. And I'll never forget, I was doing the Billy Blank's Tybo video, remember
Oh,
where it's like,
yes. Yeah.
and my friend Angela, who is still a dear friend, called. She was the program director at Star here in LA. They got my name from one of the record reps that I had worked with in Portland and San Francisco who had recommended me. So, Mike, if you happen to be watching, thank you. I appreciate that. And they brought me down for an interview. They were looking more for someone off the air. I wanted to stay on the air. I felt like I had a better chance of not getting fired if I were on the air versus just doing music. So the timing wasn't right then. But a couple of months later, they were hiring for some part time air personalities. And I basically volunteered to get myself from San Francisco to LA once a month or twice a month, whenever, again, they needed somebody and the regular part timers couldn't cover. And I would come down and do that. And after doing that for a couple of months, things were kind of falling apart where I was. So I decided just to go for it, come down here, didn't have any prospects. Well, I had the hope that something might open up, but I didn't know for sure. So I was part-time and fill in for a long time until a midday position opened up. And then I got into that. And that was my first full-time in here in LA.
See, you thought the way I have always thought. You've always been available and you've always
Mhm.
taken on a lot of different challenges. And whenever something was needed, you sometimes had to learn on the fly too. Hey, we need you. Can you
Yeah.
just run over there and go do that or whatever the case may be? So you've worn a lot of different hats and have done a lot of different things within the industry where some people may say, oh, I only want to do that, or I'll only take that job if I'm just on the air or
Mhm.
just this or just that. And it doesn't really always work that way, especially when you are coming up the ranks and working hard and making your name known or people are appreciating what you're doing. You have to do a lot of different things, run the board and do the late shift and fill in for this person and read news copy and write news copy and do announcing and public appearances and meets and greets and promo stuff for TV and radio. All of that is part of the package. And when you go in, you got to go in knowing that and enjoy it because it's all part of the whole thing.
Yeah, it's all fun. It makes for great stories later on, when people
Right.
suddenly start asking you for advice and they're like, "How'd you get in?"
Right.
And again, there was no really plan to it. I just kind of followed what I loved and took the next step. And somebody had told me action breeds action, and I thought that was so great.
It
Action breeds
does.
action. Just do something. And so, for a while there in Portland, I would volunteer to deliver packages to the different agencies from the salespeople. I washed pumpkins that were the centerpieces for the Halloween party. I washed the station van. When I came to K Earth, I was part time. I dressed as Princess Leia to go out on May the 4th and do trivia questions with listeners.
Now, did
I
you
went
get
up in
to
a
drive
blimp
the
and
van?
reported. Yeah, and it's all fun. I mean, I enjoyed every single part of that. But yeah, sometimes it doesn't look exactly like what you think it's going to look like.
That's so very true. One of the coolest things that I got to do is I got to drive the television station in New York that I was working with, um, the news van home because I needed it in the morning, and I had to pick somebody up. And now I was the on-air person, but still I ended up because I was headed somewhere or something. I don't know what I had to do with that news van, but we got to take it home. And all of a
Were people
sudden,
waving
it
at you like on the
became
freeway?
it
Yeah,
was as popular as the ice cream man.
yeah.
Oh my God, there's that news fan. Wow, there's, channel whatever. And it's kind of like how cool that was. And if it there was some, It was like, it was one of the first jobs in broadcast and in television. And I'm driving the news van I used to always see on TV and on location. And here I'm driving it. I don't know why I was driving it, because usually, there's the driver, but somehow I got to drive it home, and it was really cool. It became a centerpiece, a discussion in the neighborhood. So on here, how long have you been with K Earth?
Gosh, coming up on 7 years.
Really?
Yes.
Congratulations. What's a typical day like for you there? And of course,
Oh,
you're on
wow.
the air. It's sunny in San Diego. So,
Yeah.
so listen again, LA, K Earth 101, sunny, 98.1 in San Diego, and big, where can they find big?
94.5.
Right.
Yeah,
And
big
that's out
94.5
of,
in
what's it?
Phoenix.
That's Phoenix. So,
Yes.
hey, we do have actually viewers. Maureen, you're in the Phoenix area there. So you're going to get a chance to hear her in Phoenix. That's coming soon,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, Marie, please connect with me. I'm at Lara Scott Media on social media. And I love giving people shout outs. Happy birthday. It's always so fun to do. And I love it. Sometimes people will send videos of their kids hearing their birthday being announced on the air. And it's just such a simple thing to do. It's one of my favorite things in the entire world. So it's really awesome. And I love connecting with everybody. And it's nice too, because then when somebody texts us or, they call in, I sort of know them, so it's not just a one-way relationship anymore. It's nice because we actually get to hear back from people, which is really, really cool. So yeah, a typical day for me, I have two kids. I should say while I was working those crazy hours, that was before I was married and before I had kids. So I'm still really intense. I'm still very focused, but life looks a lot different. There are no more club gigs. There they are.
There they are.
Exactly,
This
my
is
babies.
cool. This was for
Yeah,
a special event, right?
it
So
was
a
probably
motherhood
about
in Los
80 deg
Angeles or something?
yeah, I was gonna say it's probably 80 degrees in LA that day, and I was like, "I'm freezing," with,
It's
like, a
like you're
scarf
dressed
and a
for
tank top.
Oregon.
Yeah, yeah, I know, they were like, "Your blood will get thicker." My blood never got thicker. I was so excited to come to California. But yeah, they're 7 and 12 now. I can't believe I'm about to have a teenager, so I tend to get
Wow.
up very early. I've learned to get myself to bed by 9:30 or 10, and I think everybody's had that moment where they're like, "I used to go out at this time, and, now I'm excited to go to bed at 9." Um, but, I get up
We
about
have proof of the pudding in that.
yes.
That's
If
after
only.
a long day at the studio.
Exactly. I retired to my beach island in the Caribbean,
Yes.
owned by Disney with my hammock. No, I wish. No, I've
Yeah.
become a napper actually, whether that's on the couch or the floor
Yeah.
or anywhere
Is
I can grab a few
isn't that
minutes.
amazing how that happens? We used to see like our grandparents and senior relatives doing that. Now we're napping every once in a while.
It's
It's
me.
the
Uh,
rigors of the job. Um,
yeah, yeah.
how did
So
the
I
whole
definitely get up
Disney
early.
thing come for you? This love of Disney and Hollywood and preserving history. I think that's so cool, Lara. How'd that happen for
Thank
you?
you. I love all of it. So yeah, I drink a lot of coffee, which helps with everything. And I loved Mickey Mouse for as long as I can remember. I always talk about him being my first boyfriend. And
Yes.
growing up in Fort Myers, it's funny, it seemed like Orlando was like a 3-day journey away. I think it's probably like 4 hours, really. But every October, my parents would take us up there and I would get to buy a stuffed animal and we would stay for a couple of days, usually at Fort Wilderness. We'd stay at the campground and we would just run around the park. And I vaguely remember being sent on Space Mountain by myself at like age 6,
Did you
probably because
really?
nobody else in the family liked the thrill rides. Very happy my kids are thrill seekers. Um, so I loved Disney as a kid. And then I grew up and I felt like I was maybe too cool for that. I just kind of forgot. I got caught up in so many other things. And when my son was born, everybody was like, "Oh, you have to take him to Disneyland and get a picture." And I was like, "Well, I mean, I guess I could." I was so busy working. I never even really went to Disneyland in those early years that I was here in LA. And so we took him for a picture. We took him back the next year. And then a couple months after that, I had a miscarriage. And I was so broken and sorry, I took things down real fast there.
No,
Um,
that's you got a lot of levity around you here.
yeah, oh, thank you. And for anybody who has gone through that, the thing that I see now, Jim, on this side of things is that it has given me so much compassion for anybody who's gone through that, who's suffered a loss, I can understand even without saying anything. I think in a way that I would never have been able to if I hadn't gone through that. But it hit me so hard. I hadn't had a loss in my life for a long time, and I was trying to carry on at work every day like things were all right, and I was just sinking lower and lower. And I had this thought one day. I had the day off of work. My son was 2 years old at the time, and I thought that I should go to Disneyland, and I had no idea where that came from. But I was like, "All right, I guess I'll go to Disneyland today." Uh, and I thought maybe there's a little magic left that can help me. And going through those gates, Jim, I felt something come to life. And I had such an amazing day. I remember we rode the double-decker bus and we got
Wow.
popcorn and we saw Pluto and
You
something
were a
came
kid
alive
like
in
they
me.
were. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was almost like remembering something that I'd forgotten rather than discovering something new. And so we started to go more and more. It took me a while before I was like, all right, I'm gonna buy myself a pair of ears and put them like I was just wearing like my regular black clothing, when I would go. But I am a very proud Disney adult, and to me, it's just it truly is such a happy place. Walt Disney knew something about
Yeah.
the wish. What is it that your heart really wants? Start
Right.
with that. Yeah, follow the things that make your heart come alive. And so for me at home, I can now do work from home. There's always laundry to be done with 2 children. When I'm at Disneyland, I can just forget about all of that, everything that's happening in the world, and just make the memories with my kids, be inspired. I bring a notebook, I write down ideas, just the energy of the place does something for me. So, yeah, so I love Disneyland. Yep.
Yeah, we've got some cool evidence of you really being in the thick of it, huh?
Can
You
I say I
have
didn't buy all of that? That is not my haul.
this, yeah, this isn't her living room.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. How'd you get that picture in my house? What's going on? No, I've been fortunate at K Earth to do some broadcast from Disneyland. I love that they are supporters of radio. They really believe in it, and a couple of times a year, they will invite stations from all over the country who hot tip here, a lot of stations will give away Disneyland tickets when they're doing
Mhm.
this, or even trips to the park, depending on where you
Right.
live. So keep an eye out for that on the air and on radio station websites. We certainly do that here at K Earth. We just gave away a trip to Aulani, actually, in Hawaii. But we get to go and we'll see the nighttime spectaculars, we'll see the parade, we'll check out the new merchandise. So this was from an interview that I did where they were saying, here are the new shirts. Remember, they had outfits for your dog, so you could match
Yes.
your dog with your Disney love.
Yeah.
The little baguette that looks like a stocking. So we get to share that on the air and kind of bring people behind the scenes and give them a little peek behind the curtain with the magic, which is fun.
That is really, really cool. I tell you, you're having a lot of fun. We've got evidence of it everywhere. Tell us about this shot.
That is Oregon.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was a terrible skier as a kid. We used to go up to North Carolina. And then when I moved to Oregon, I mean, people there were skiing before they could walk, snowboarding before they
Yes.
could crawl. They were really good. And they basically
You
strapped me
probably
to
would
a
have been
snow.
better as a boogie boarder coming from Florida.
I think so. Although, I mean, in Florida, we didn't really go in the water. Like we kind of swam in the pool. We enjoyed the beach. We would go in up to our knees and kind of shuffle
Dip
along to
in.
avoid stingrays. Yeah, and
Stingrays, yeah.
I fell in love with snowboarding. It feels like flying. It's probably the closest I'll get to being Peter Pan,
Yeah,
right? Is
right.
yeah, coming down on that snowboard. I taught my husband to snowboard when we first started dating. We almost broke up because he got so frustrated. He like thought he was going to walk down the mountain, but he figured it out and we stayed together. And yeah, this is at Mount Bachelor in Central Oregon, which is an amazing place. It's surrounded by national forest. There aren't any resorts right there, so it's less crowded because it's a little bit harder to get to.
Yeah.
Huge mountain, high speed. I sound like I'm doing an ad for Mount
I was gonna
Bachelor,
say
but
huge
yeah,
mountain, high
yeah, it's
speed,
I know, right?
and a fabulous lodge, all for
Yeah,
one low price.
it does 3 lodges, and it is
3
cheaper than
lodges.
some of the trendier places, but there's just something so special about Central Oregon. I love the energy there. Somebody's from LA when they start talking about how pure the air is, but it really is amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a place we try to go to every year now. Class bookstore. By the way, I love that you're sharing some of the photos I sent you and then just others that I don't even know where they came from, but it's
Yes,
fun
I do
seeing
my
those. It's so
research.
fun.
I do
It's
my
so fun
research.
seeing those. The
Yeah.
last bookstore is like Disneyland for book lovers. We'll just call it that. It's right in downtown LA. It's in the historic Spring Arcade building. And you walk in, and it's almost like a big open air loft with these huge pillars, comfy places to sit. It's the kind of place where they have the staff recommendations up and where you could go in and not even know what you're looking for and find your new favorite book. It is such a treasure. And knowing that you're supporting a local business, I think that's really wonderful too. And they have galleries on the second level that you can look through. They have a book tunnel that I think was pretty much made for Instagram that's really beautiful. And for
Ooh.
anybody who lives in LA, maybe that hasn't ventured downtown, or if you're coming and you want to do something really cool, but like it's not the typical tourist thing, check out the Last Bookstore. It's in the historic core in downtown LA.
Speaking of books, yes, tell us about yours too. You wrote a fantastic book.
It's called
Um,
Where the Crawdads Sing. No.
I was going to say, right. You wrote a fantastic book from the corner of Hollywood and Divine. Tell us about that. That is really, really cool.
Thank you for asking about that. And by the way, I'm seeing comments popping up and I'm
Yes.
slightly ADD, so I'm trying to like look at them and also keep talking and not lose my train of thought. But
But you're
thank
afraid there's breaking news or weather
yeah,
or a storm
something. Yeah, I'm
coming
so used
in.
to that,
Yeah.
like car chase. We just had big car chase here in LA today. But thank you everybody who's
But
commenting.
that's
Saying,
never news
oh,
in LA.
yeah. Although the news still stops, and they cover that. We
Oh,
let
the
people know. Just
helicopters, those guys
yeah,
from one of my friends is longtime friends actually used to work for one of the ABC affiliates here. She's Sarah Welch on KTLA Channel 5. Probably see her a lot there as one of the reporters. And
yeah. Oh, they have a
she's
great team there. Yeah.
KTLA. Yeah. All the
Hmm.
stations. Absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah, tell us about the book. That's exciting.
Thank you. So it's been out for a long time now.
Published author.
Eh, yes, self-published, and our friend JJ that we were talking about is an incredible writer, by the way, and we have bonded a lot. I think talking about books and writing, and yeah, right after my first child was born, I was sitting there feeling so frumpy. I think I was in a sweatsuit I'd been wearing for 3 days, covered in spit up and who knows what else. Just sitting there in my own filth. And I had kind of become obsessed with Frank Sinatra and the Great
You
American
just
Songbook.
described probably a billion people around the world how they were dressed during the pandemic.
Yeah, and it felt honestly, it felt like being at home with a newborn was how I sort of described it about like, man, I can't really go anywhere. It's like, what's happening? There's a lot to do here, feeling overwhelmed. Um, yeah, so with being a new mom and trying to figure out who I was going to be moving forward in the new phase of my life, I was watching all these old movies on TCM and started to feel like I needed to bring some glamour into my life. Like maybe I personally couldn't be glamorous, but maybe I could look at a beautiful building. And I had noticed, just being in radio and you had mentioned appearances going around LA, noticing like, wow, what's different about that building? What is that? What is the Hollywood Pantages Theater, the El Capitan? Why do I love that so much? And I realized what they all kind of had in common was this style of design called Art Deco, which was really big in the 1920s, like mid 1920s to about 1940. There's the Millennium Biltmore. You've probably seen that staircase on shows like Entourage. I think it was just in the movie Dog with Channing Tatum, where they were running down the hallway. This to me is one of the most glamorous buildings that you could visit in Los Angeles. It's right downtown, right next to the Central Library, which is another famous building with a big pyramid on the top. And they used to host the Academy Awards here. There is this story that this is where Ronald Reagan was discovered, that he stopped in LA. He was a broadcaster, I believe, in Chicago or
It's,
somewhere in Illinois.
he's from Illinois.
Stopped
Yeah.
yeah, on his way to cover the Cubs, who would do
That's
spring
right.
training on Catalina Island at the time, and somebody suggested he should get into movies. Something like that. I may be remembering wrong, but I think that's part of the hotel's claim to fame. So yeah, I mean, you can't help but feel glamorous standing at the top of a staircase like that. And right below me, they do afternoon tea, so you can bring your kids and check that out. It's really beautiful.
Almost looks like it's you welcoming us to the lobby of your home on Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous with Robin
Yes,
Leach.
I live
Remember
here
that one?
now. Yes.
That's it.
Fabulous.
We're now
Yeah,
visiting Bel Air.
it's beautiful. Yes, my actual home looks nothing like that. We have Legos everywhere, but
Oh,
it sure is
Legos.
fun to pop. Yeah, it's fun to pop into a place like this for the day.
Oh
And,
yeah.
I found too, kind of like with Disney, just bringing a little bit of that glamour. I think something that really captured me, Jim, about old Hollywood is it's like, man, those people really knew how to live. They would drink their coffee, they would read the paper, they would dress for dinner, they would have conversations. An
People
iPad
used
was
to dress to
probably
go to
not.
the supermarket years ago,
Yes,
or if you look at older videos, they go to the department store, and that was, an event to go to Macy's or even Sears, JCPenney. People would dress, just to do that. We're going shopping for the day, and it's kinda cool. I kinda miss the fact that, you know, people don't necessarily do that. Sometimes even weddings and funerals, people aren't even necessarily dressing up, or holidays like they used to, you know?
yeah. Yeah, it's very I look at those old videos and photos, I'm like, "They're wearing so many clothes." Everybody's dressed to the nines.
Yeah.
And so this is me at the Hollywood Pantages Theater. I'm actually going tomorrow night to see Cats, which is coming to
Oh,
town if
cool.
anybody's in LA and loves Cats. I mean, it's an iconic show. And this was at Moulin Rouge over the summer. I was so happy to be back at the Pantages. It was closed for a while, then it reopened, and then I finally was able to get back. And another place that hosted the Oscars for a while, it was built in the 1920s and just very ornate. It has this beautiful big barrel ceiling that you'll see people taking pictures of. And it's another one, like you walk down those stairs and you feel like you're starring in your very own Hollywood movie. So keep in mind too, if people are coming to LA, you plan your trips to the theme parks, see what is going to be on. They usually put the schedule out a year ahead of time at places like the Hollywood Pantages Theater, and you will get to see an incredible musical. And they also have shows now at the Dolby, which is where the Oscars happen.
Look at this, huh? This is beautiful.
That's Old Town Music Hall. Oh, Jim, thank you for letting me talk about all these places that I love.
Oh,
This is
yeah,
awesome.
sure.
Yeah,
Celebrating all things Hollywood and Disney.
yeah. So
Absolutely.
El Segundo is right by LAX, just a cute little beach town. And I was living not too far away years ago, and I was looking up movie times online. And this is an example of a happy accident that changed the course of my life. And I was trying to find movie times for the ArcLight Cinema. And I had typed in movies, El Segundo, and Old Town Music Hall popped up in the search results. And I thought, classic movies on the big screen. I'm like, what? So I was firmly a classic movie fan by this time. And I clicked on the website. They were showing, it was like a 3 hour silent film called The White Sister, starring Lillian Gish and
Wow.
Ronald Colman that weekend. So I brought 2 friends with me. We were the only ones in the theater. They promptly fell asleep, and it was the owner, Bill Field, accompanying the entire film on the mighty Wurlitzer Theater pipe organ through the entire thing, playing it. And I found out later he just made
Incredible.
it up as he went. He was so talented. He passed away a few years ago. He was a dear friend. I loved talking classic film with him, but he had run this theater since I believe the 60s and had a staff of volunteers. We all kind of connected with each other, all these younger people that just loved classic film, loved the theater. The theater itself is, I think it's 100 years old now,
Wow.
right across from Chevron. It was
Oh, yeah.
a movie theater for a time. I think it was a dance studio, but it's been Old Town Music Hall since the late 60s now. And you can go. This weekend we're showing Frankenstein. We are the Old Town Music haunt in the month of October, and you can see some great classic horror films. Again, this weekend Frankenstein is going to be on, which is really fun. And it starts
Cool.
with yeah, an old-fashioned audience sing-along. There's a cartoon or like a Laurel and Hardy short, but you really get to experience these movies the way they were intended to be seen.
That's incredible. There's another cool shot here.
The central library. I have to always spin when I go in there. That is on the second floor. And the central library is really 2 parts. They have a newer wing that opened, I wanna say in the '80s or '90s, and then this wing was built long before that. I'm gonna say I think in the 1920s is when it opened. And it's such a beautiful place. I mean, of course, they have all the books you could ever want, but they also have art. They will do different exhibitions. You can walk around and just look at the murals on the wall. This is the rotunda, and all those murals tell the story of California. And they have a wonderful kids section. The librarians are so incredible. They will not just do story time. They recite poetry, they sing, they dance, they do a puppet show. It is a fantastic place to bring your kids, and even I think in the bottom level, they have a genealogy department, And also you can
Wow.
look up what used to be at different locations around LA. So if you want to know what used to be where your new house is, you can go down there and they can help you find that. And that is actually on Sunday at Disneyland. We went to check
You
out
have
all
the
of the
ears
Halloween
on?
fun. I do have the ears
Yes.
on. Those are my
Say she's tried and
990
true.
on.
She's
Yeah.
all
Oh,
in.
yeah. I bring a bag of ears with me now, Jim. I will say, people are like, "How are you at Disneyland? I just heard you on the air," but I go once a month, every 6 weeks or something, and I feel so fortunate to be able to do that. I mean, if you told me that as a kid, I would have passed out, like, knowing that I live that close to Disneyland, the original park, and, so we'll go, I'll take a bunch of pictures. I have met so many wonderful Disney fans on Instagram. Like, we all just love sharing the magic and trading tips, and it's a really neat community,
Don't they
and that to
have
me.
or they've had Disney Radio too?
Yes,
Had you ever thought of doing any of that?
I've always loved where I've been. I mean, I would absolutely love to work for them. I think they might still now have Country Disney Radio, but I think the
Yeah.
main one, went away a while back. But yeah, my son and I used to listen to that all the time. They had a fantastic staff over there,
You
and,
mentioned country, and, we lost, Loretta
I
Lynn today.
know, I
Uh,
know.
absolute,
Amazing lady,
legend.
amazing life.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
We were a
and it
fan of her work?
oh, my mom, this is gonna really date me, but I will tell you, would play 8 tracks when I was a little kid.
Yeah,
That's some of my
sure.
earliest
Oh, yeah,
memories is getting
sure.
picked up from school and 8 tracks and,
Yeah,
like, we have to, like, turn it over or it would switch in the middle of a song or,
sometimes it might
like.
jam.
Yeah. So it's, Loretta Lynn, David Frizzell and Dottie West, the Oak Ridge Boys, like, all
Yeah,
of that, Conway Twitty, and I saw a picture of her, with Conway Twitty on KTLA today. They were talking about her life.
Loretta
And,
Lynn.
hopefully some with her passing and people sharing her incredible life story, more people will discover her music. She's so talented.
Absolutely, that's what happens, yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's what happens with music, as a whole, because a lot of, generations coming up discover some of the sounds of earlier, and now vinyl's coming back, which is cool, and
Mhm.
sometimes you can hear even TV commercials or even radio commercials where you hear samples of music from the 70s, 80s, 60s, what have you, and somebody may say, "Oh, wow, I like that beat, that's a cool rhythm," or, "I like that song," and you'll be like, that actually came out as a full song back in 1980 whatever, and it'll be new to them, but the commercial, they're sampling the song in the
Mhm.
commercial, so it's, like, new to a whole new, listenership, which is kinda cool, huh?
Yeah, and I'm happy the artist is making money.
Yeah, well,
Like,
that's
good for
key
them. Yeah,
too. That's key
yeah,
too. Sport in the
yeah.
shades.
Sport in the Shades. This is at Legoland, which is in Carlsbad, which is kind of North County, San Diego. And we were down there for their Halloween celebration. Again, Jim, I've gone full theme park, full Disney, full
Yeah,
theme park. I am
yes.
a
You're like
proud
me.
fan.
You are
Yeah.
you are nothing but a big kid in adult clothing. That's how I describe it. A big kid in adult clothing.
Yeah, I think we need shirts, Jim, or some kind of Facebook group or something. I think it's important to find the joy. I had mentioned earlier I love coffee, so the kids know wherever we're going, mommy is going to stop and get her coffee, and then we can proceed from that. So
That's it.
that's me smiling with my cup of coffee. I love Halloween.
Is that your trick or treat,
Yeah.
bag? Is that what you're hoping to fill in the neighborhood?
Yes, it was funny, Saturday, this past Saturday was October 1st, and the kids knew. They said, "Okay, now we can pull everything out." I was ready to start in August, but we had to wait till October 1st. And we have this very sweet neighbor that just moved in. And I mean, the kids pulled out the zombie crossing sign, the bats. We have a skeleton named Norman. We put him out. We have a skeleton dog that belongs to him named Fang. The bats. And as I was pulling out of the garage, I saw
Hang.
our sweet neighbor just standing there like, like, am I gonna have to look at this for the next month? So I hope we didn't terrify her too much. But yeah, I never
Yeah,
really celebrated holidays until I had kids. And then,
you have the kids,
shout
yeah.
out to the preschools that really do that and get the kids excited. And they have so many traditions that they start. So it got me into just having fun and not being so serious all of the time.
When you said Fang, you know who I immediately thought of? Phyllis Diller.
Oh gosh.
Or she'd always talk about her husband, Fang. It's a name from the past, huh?
Yeah, I know. I was
Good
like,
old
"Oh my
Phyllis
gosh, Phyllis
Diller.
Diller." Yeah. So, my great granny used to babysit me when I was a kid, and we would watch Hee Haw and
Oh, yeah.
Lawrence Welk. And
Oh,
so,
yeah, yeah.
it was interesting, interesting now that I love classic film because I realized probably a lot of those stars at that time were doing stints on some of these TV shows, that meant so much to my great granny and my parents. And now they mean so much to me as well. But it was really neat that I kind of got that education, or they'd have the one classic movie that was being shown on TV for that week on. I remember seeing A Star Is Born, the Judy
Oh,
Garland one when I was a little kid. Yeah.
cool stuff. Look at this one here. No, you're really in the action there. That's a cool
Pluto
shot.
is the wave, and I'm surfing.
Pluto.
Somebody was like, "Your weight's on the wrong foot." Like, I was like, I wasn't really surfing. I was just standing there. But yeah, we just did a broadcast from Aulani, which is a Disney resort in Hawaii on the island of Oahu. And what they did so beautiful is that Hawaii is very much the star of everything. There are characters. There's my buddy Pluto, and you can do a character dining experience, but the
Yeah.
story is Hawaiian culture. And
And refreshing
Maui,
drinks too, right?
yeah, I didn't have any because I was working so hard, although, we did get some shaved ice, and they actually
That's
give you a
cool.
straw. It was so hot and humid, it was
It's
awesome,
got
but when
the
the ice
ears.
melts, yeah, there was the little Mickey ears, they make it with, like, a little cup and pop it on, and then they give you a straw so you can drink it when it melts. Yeah, Aulani is beautiful, peaceful. You can go to a luau and learn,
And that's located where?
that is on the island of Oahu,
That is
on
Oahu,
the
yeah.
Ko'olina coast, so a little ways away from Honolulu.
Stunning. I mean, you can't, yeah, it's breathtaking landscape there for sure. Look
Yeah,
at
the
this.
buildings look like canoes. Yeah.
Like I said, gang, she's all in. She is all in. Is this a Harry Potter type thing or?
This is, yes, it was funny, my husband walked in, I had the door to the bedroom shut, and he was downstairs with the kids. He's not on social media, like, doesn't even really he's kinda like, "Why are people on there?" He walked in, and I was
He
posing
might
like
be
that, and
smart. He might be onto something.
yeah, well, he took one look, turned around, and walked back out of the room. He goes, "I'm not even gonna ask." Like, at this point, he's used to me,
That
dressing
it's
up
just
in
part
costumes and
of the
everything.
whole.
Yes, yeah, and for this, we'd given away Universal Studios tickets, and, so we have the whole, Hogwarts area, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, so I was doing a video for work with that, so that's my son's wizarding robe, my daughter's wand, and then my Harry Potter sun stashes, which is a really, really fun sunglasses line.
That
But
is so
I love Harry
cool.
Potter. I believe magic is real, and I hope that we all think that magical things can happen to us at any time.
Absolutely. We say it all the time here on this show. Was this at the resort?
No, this is actually Fort Myers Beach.
It
So
is.
the last time I was
Oh,
down there was December.
oh
I've had a
boy.
trip planned to go down and celebrate my dad's birthday with him in
See?
just a few weeks. And we were going to stay on Fort Myers Beach. We decided to stay a little closer to where his house is. This past December, we stayed at the Neptune Inn. And we'd
Mm,
walked up to the Lani Kai, which is the big hotel. It's still standing. Their architect just turned 91, been
wow.
there for 43 years. So this was just on the beach right in front of the Neptune Inn, just down from the Lani Kai. But you can see that beautiful sand. It's like powdered
Well,
sugar almost, and the blue sky and the water. It's one of my favorite places in the world.
yeah, hopefully that will come back. They'll build back. They'll build back. You've got it, right? Um,
Yeah, and one thing I shared on Instagram, I said, by next week, the news cycle will move on, and
that's what
especially out here,
happens.
the news covers it, but there are other more pressing things for this area. But something people can do to help is when they're looking ahead to 2023, when they're looking ahead to 2024, consider Fort Myers, consider Naples, consider, areas in Florida. There are going to be plenty of places that you still can go because that is an area that really depends on tourism dollars. And winter is the big time. Everybody comes down from up north, and that's going to go a
Oh, the
huge way towards
snowbirds
helping them.
up this
The
way. Yeah.
snowbirds, yeah, 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 and they come down and make their memories on Fort Myers Beach. And the Lani Kai Hotel that I was just talking about, they shared that there's a little boy. I think he's like 8 or 9 in Minnesota. They had a picture of him and his sister on the beach. He donated his allowance to help in the recovery efforts. So we're just hearing those sweet stories from all over the place.
Now you've watched our show. You're a fan of the Jim Master Show Live. You and I were talking about that. You like some of the episodes we've done, and that's so cool. I love that.
Thank you. Well, my life. you look at those photos, you look at social media, it looks like I'm always out doing stuff and I'm dressed up, but I spend a lot of time doing dishes and laundry and sitting in
Yeah.
traffic and, podcast and shows, like, they really are my companions. I'm alone a lot of the day. I work by myself in the studio. People
Yeah.
are always surprised, and Jim, you might get this too. They're like, "Where's the producer? And where's the assistant? And where's the site?" I'm like, "You're looking at her
You're looking
right
at,
here.
right?
We do everything." So, I found the
Yes.
shows that inspire me. I really decided years ago that I was complaining to somebody like, "God, there's just so much bad news out there." And I just thought, I'm just going to make the choice that I'm going to focus on what's good. I'm not going to complain about traffic. I'm not going to complain about the weather. I'm going to do my very best to be positive, and hopefully people will feel better after they've listened than they did before. So that's kind of like my north star, if you will, as I filter, okay, what am I going to talk about? I have the choice of these three things. What's going to actually add to somebody's day? So yeah, I feel like a lot of things changed when I changed my focus and let go of the things I didn't have control over. I can't change all of Instagram or Facebook, but I can control what I'm putting out there and even what I'm consuming too, that's going to influence how I see things.
It's so very, very true. So we're glad that you're a lovety and you're a friend of the Jim Masters Show Live and you enjoy our series and the episodes. I think that is so absolutely cool. Um, what are some of the other things that you're involved in other projects? You love Disney and Hollywood and celebrating history and art. And I love all of that too. You're big about kindness and empathy, which is something I think that, we've all been in short supply of, and we're big about that here on the Jim Master Show. And I've always been that way. I'm a Libra. So we just had our birthday on September 24th. So I'm balance and harmony. I'm all about trying to balance and harmonize everything. Not so easy. I often say I should have been born on Venus, the planet of love, instead of Earth. But then they're like, no, 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 no. We need people like you to help us balance and harmonize everything. Otherwise, the place would implode. But how about you? What are some exciting things that you do and that you have coming up you're excited about?
Oh, wow. Well, first of all, happy belated birthday, and
Thank
thank you
you.
for bringing that beautiful balance. That is amazing, and I'm glad you're born here and not on Venus. But what else? Let's see. I You mentioned that I had won a volunteer service award, and again, that was before I
Yes.
had kids. And I'd lived in LA for a long time, and I'd been to, now it's Crypto.com Arena. At the time, it was Staples Center. I've been there for concerts. Didn't know that a few blocks away there was suffering beyond anything that I could have imagined. And I went down there with a friend. Her church was feeding people, and I just thought, how did I not know about this? How did I not know? So I started to volunteer every chance I could on the weekend. I would, work with different organizations. I would go to the rescue missions. We started an initiative at work where we collected the recycling, take it to the recycling center. We donate that money every month. I was hosting radiothons to raise money. I went to Jamaica to study poverty there and serve the people there and come back and help build homes for people. So it was something that I'd never really done in my whole life before, but it gave me such a sense of purpose. And it was really hard to stop that when my son was born. And I remember somebody had said to me, like, this is now sort of the mission field. Like, this is where you're going to make a difference in raising a good human who is going to be kind, who is going
Yeah.
to care about people in the planet. So that really helped me because I got so much fulfillment and joy out of being involved. And, I will say too, we hear a lot about what's happening in LA. And yeah, there are some very hard things happening, but there are also a lot of success stories. There are people who are turning their lives around, that are getting job training, that are moving into their own apartment, that are so proud of what they've accomplished. And we never really get to hear those stories. And, for anybody who's thinking about volunteering, but they're worried it's going to be sad, you will see some hard things, but I think that you will leave feeling so hopeful
Yes.
about the incredible work that's being done, that you'll want to come back again and again. So that's something that has been really awesome. And even a lot of the moms groups now that I'm involved with out here,
Yeah.
one of my friends, Laura with Local Anchor, they just did a volunteer day at the LA Food Bank, and people are now actively looking for ways to serve. So that's really awesome.
Isn't that incredible to have an opportunity to do that, to give back, even though when the schedule is really incredibly busy?
Yeah. Yeah, the other thing, so in the midst of all of this running around and busyness, in 2020, I discovered botanical gardens, and very much like some of the places downtown, lived here a long time now and had never been to any of the gardens,
Do you
and
have a
they
green
were some
thumb?
of what was that? No, I killed a broccoli plant once. I brought it home from the farmer's market at 7 AM, it was dead by 11. I was like, all I did was put it on the counter, like, "What?" So
I gotta
I love
stop over
looking.
there and help out. I have a green thumb.
Yeah,
I'm lucky.
yeah. Come
Killed
help,
a
Jim.
broccoli plant. I bet this is
Send
probably,
help.
gang,
Yeah,
the Lovities, this is the very first person that you've probably met in your entire life that has told you she killed a broccoli plant in 2 hours.
yeah. Yeah, it was done. So I love looking at the plants. I feel like there's something so healing about nature, and when I went there in 2020 for the first time, because my friend said, "Yeah, the LA Arboretum is open." I had to figure out where that was. We met her, and it just I couldn't understand why I felt better because all I did was go there and walk around, and I still kinda that's like my prescription for friends that are suffering and they don't know what to do, or they don't it's like, just go and sit with the trees, go get your bare feet in the
Get
grass.
out in
Yeah.
nature, go to the ocean, go to the forest. I said
Mhm.
that to the audience too during the pandemic. Try to go to the constants in life. Go to, the ocean, go to a forest, get out in nature, go to where the animals are, plant a garden, whatever it is, because those things will always be there, the forest,
Mhm.
the ocean, the things that are larger than we are. And when you surround yourself with things that are, if you go to the ocean and you see the sunrise, the sunset, there's something comforting about that. And the ocean tide and the rhythm,
Yes.
doing it for thousands of years. It's going to do it way beyond when we are here. Go to those things. If you think your life is uprooted and everything is sort of not recognizable, go to the constants in life. And just like what you're saying, it's refreshing, it's rebooting, it's reinvigorating, and you get the balance and the harmony, and you get to breathe from the diaphragm. You're like, okay, there's a lot of chaos and a lot of nutty stuff going on, but yet, wow, I heard a bird chirp. How cool is that?
Mhm.
The basics in life, the simple things in life, coming back to basics. If you want to bake that
Yeah.
sourdough bread, go ahead. Many people
Yeah,
did during
that
the
too.
pandemic.
Yeah, or like the baking, all of that, and I discovered forest bathing once they started having classes again. There are actually certified forest bathing guides, and my first thought was, "Do I get naked? Is there a bathtub under the moon? Like, what am I
What's
doing?"
this
But
about? Yeah.
it's yeah, it's going to nature literally to just bathe in the presence of the trees and the plants, and yeah, you don't have to take your clothes off, keep them on, and the classes that I've done, they give you different invitations, like you were just saying, Jim. Okay, close your eyes. We're going to stand here for 10 minutes. And at the end, tell us what you heard. Can you listen without judging the bird chirping as better than the car zooming by on the freeway? That's just a couple of blocks away. So, yeah, it is so healing. And you think about with the trees, they have this intelligence network in their roots that they
Yes,
can send messages like this tree needs a little more of this, the other trees will send it. How
exactly.
much we have to learn as
That's
advanced
right.
as we are, how much there is for us to learn from nature.
So much that we don't know, that we sort of take advantage of or just let pass by in our lives. And there's a lot of gifts that surround us. There's a lot of simple gifts that surround us on so many different levels, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and again, it goes back to what am I gonna focus on? Am I gonna focus on everything that's gone wrong, or can I just tune that out, let go of what I don't have control of, and focus on the fact that I'm here and it's a beautiful day, and I have air in my lungs, I have gas in my tank in my car, my kids are healthy, and we'll deal with whatever else comes along. But I do think that's a lot of it now, Jim, is we are just inundated again with one tragedy after another, and
It's
that it
incredible.
it
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it I think at a certain point you get almost like empathy fatigue, like you just have no more to give because it's this thing and it's this thing and it's this thing. I would really encourage people really guard what you're taking in, guard your time and focus on what you actually can make a difference with and do things that give back to you, especially moms. The energy is always going out. If you work in entertainment, the energy is always going out. But look for those things, whether it's meditation, taking a walk, forest bathing that replenish you.
Exactly right. Exactly right. It's really amazing. What are some of those additional blessings and joys in your life that keep you foraging forward in the career and in life as a whole, Lara?
Well, I love the sense of community that
Me too, yeah.
radio has given me. I mean, I think, you're in radio, so there's just something about it. It's more than just a job. And I don't think it's necessarily my identity, but I'm very passionate about it. And it's hard to kind of like who I am on the air is who I am. And I know some people are like, don't be yourself, like you're
Oh,
weird.
no.
Don't be
Yeah,
yourself.
no. The Lara
Yeah.
that they will meet in the supermarket and the Jim they're gonna
Yeah.
meet in the supermarket, this is us.
Yeah. It is really funny, Jim. Actually, I got
Oh, great
recognized
name
from
for a TV
Instagram.
show. This is us.
But this is us. I think it could run for a long time and have a
Write
great
that
finale.
down.
Yeah,
Let's call NBC.
I like it. Yes. But yeah, it was funny. Somebody came up to me, a Disney friend from Instagram. Shout out to Monique, and it made it real that, wow, these are real people that
Right.
I'm talking to on the other side of this. She got to meet
Yeah.
my kids. I was like, thank God my kids are behaving and I wasn't screaming at them. Not that I would ever do that, but I was
A
also
little
able to,
curtsy there
say,
again.
yeah, exactly. Kids, you never know who's watching, so you have to listen to me and do exactly what I say. Yeah. Um,
Exactly.
so yeah, I think the thing that keeps me going with work is, and the business has changed so much, is finding new ways to connect what I'm doing on the air with what we can do now with social media. And now that we're getting back to going out in person, talking to people, what do you love about this? I love feedback, and it's not always good, and
True.
often there's a
Right.
lot though that we can learn from that. And saying, how can we do a better job? We appreciate you choosing us. Like there's a million things out there. So continuing to hopefully, grow the audiences of the radio station and who we're able to connect with. And also, I hope that we're able to continue to give away fun prizes. I mean, when we did those Disney tickets, one lady had just gone through a divorce and she was so excited that she was going to be able to tell her kids that they were going to get to go and do this. And another gal, they had just lost their family dog. And this was like the best news that she'd had all week. So just being able to share in those moments in people's
That's right.
lives, I honestly, I've never dreaded coming to work ever, even when I've had a migraine, or
Yeah.
working
Oh,
from home
yeah.
for,
Or
yeah,
you can
it
get, we've probably both had, I've had on radio and TV, got some really bad news while
yeah.
you're there, and you have to still stay there and be on the air and get through it, and then you deal with it later. But those things happen too, or you've got an upset stomach and you got to be in that chair and do that thing. I had one thing. I was on radio for 3 hours straight live. There was no co-host, very few commercials, and it was on a Friday night. And, I sort of knew, you kind of know when maybe you're starting to get something, a little tickle in the back of the throat. And you're kind of like, uh, so as I was going along on the air live, and it was a high energy type show, and we were taking callers, and it was like actually a shopping show, like a QVC on the air. It was really incredible, and it required a lot of energy and a lot of just stamina and tenacity. Yet I knew that there's a little bit of a tickle there that was unnatural, so I wasn't feeling 100%, but you're on the air. I've got 3 hours. There's nowhere to go. The building is pretty much empty because it was like nighttime. So a lot of staff left. And there's just me and a producer. And I got the 3 hour show and I'm going along. It was really amazing because I don't know if you've had this happen, the minute I said, and thanks for joining us, we'll see you again next time. The minute I said the goodnight, the goodbye, and the see you later, boom, fever, sweating, chills, almost laryngitis, the whole bit. I was sick the minute I said, see you next time. It was as if the adrenaline, uh, the knowing of the task at hand and all the things that I had to do had to be done. You got to get it done. You
Mhm.
got to nail it. Mind over matter. And then when I had nothing else to do and I said goodnight, see you later, and the shift was wrapped, the show was wrapped for the night, boom, the body said, now you're going to pay.
You
Have you
should have
ever had
never
that happen?
signed off. Yeah.
I should have
No,
just done it all night. There should have been a blizzard
just
and
kept
obstructions.
going.
Yeah. Have
Yeah.
you ever had that
There were
where?
times, yeah,
Mm.
like in those overnight hours back in the day that I may have thrown up into a trash can,
Yeah.
taken it out, and then come back
And
and
then
just
come back.
continued. Yeah.
I just wanted to say, because we know we got to let you go, so you got to pick up your kids. So we're just right about there. Got about a minute left. Mr. George Burns is here.
Oh,
He's
hey,
always
George.
here on our show. He comes in towards the latter part. He's got a cigar in his hanky. And my aunt collected dolls. This got passed down to me. He said, "You knocked it out of the park, Lara Scott." He loved
Aw.
hearing your stories. He loves your passion and enthusiasm for everything you do for the broadcast industry, which of course he was a part of,
Mhm.
and your passion for life and for what you do. So he loves you, and he said thanks for being with us, and you got a chance to see George. How cool is that,
I
huh?
mean, I couldn't ask for anything else. It's gonna be tough for my kids to follow that, so, yeah.
You
No,
got a chance to meet George.
yeah, Jim, you were such a gracious host. I love your questions. Thank you for, doing all the research and setting everything up, and it's just been such a pleasure. Thank you, and your audience is awesome.
The pleasure is all mine. They've already designated you a Lovety, a Jim Master Show Lovety. We'll keep the
You're gonna
porch
make me
light on.
cry. Yeah.
Right, you are a Lovety. Well, I say there's Oscars, Emmys, Grammys, Tonys, Tellys, Peabodys, all these things we can win. But when you get a Lovety on the Jim Master Show Live, most people say their feet tingle. Are your feet tingling right now,
You know
Lara?
what they are actually, my right foot just started tingling as you were as you were saying.
One of our
It
guests
could
said
be
they
like
were levitating.
yeah. If I start floating away.
Start
Yes, there
floating
you go.
away. I know you got to scoot off. We will keep the porch light on for you. You're amazing. Thanks for all the great comments, gang, from all around the
Mhm.
world and around the United States and Canada. Appreciate that. You're the best. Spread the word about our show. If you know the other folks you think would like to pop on, continued success at K Earth and Sunny and now Big, and everything else you're doing, celebrating Hollywood and Disney. And say hi to the kids for you. Tell them Jim Master said hi.
I will. I will.
You be well, my friend. You take care, okay? We'll talk again
Thank
soon.
you. I thank you so much.
You're welcome. Cheers. Coming to you live from the K Earth 101 FM studios in Los Angeles, California. That was Lara Scott. She's also on the air in San Diego at Sunny 98.1. Matter of fact, if you want to see the logos, I know I love logos and I love call letters and all that stuff as a broadcaster. K Earth 101, Sunny 98.1. This is LA. This is San Diego. And she's also going to be on in Phoenix too. Yeah, so that's kind of cool as well. I'm talking about Lara Scott, my special guest on the Jim Masters Show Live, radio personality, celebrating everything Hollywood, all things Disney, and also celebrating life. She loves what she does in broadcasting, as I do too, on radio and television, stage and film all these years. And not the easiest of fields to have picked, very difficult, very unpredictable, very demanding, ever changing, merging, consolidating. You wear a ton of different hats, but there's just something about it. If you're in it and you've been in it for a long time and it's something maybe you did as a kid, whatever you do, in your life that maybe you started doing when you were a kid and you get to do it, in the real world as an adult, even though it has all of its craziness and crazy hours and everything else. But you meet incredible people through your lifetime. You get to create art, connect people, express yourself. And, it's all changed in so many different ways. TV's changed, radio has changed, everything. Film has changed. Now it's digital. There's so much out there. But if you get to do what you love and share it with the world, the rest sort of follows. But you got to give it your all. We've had actors and actresses on who say, if you want to get into acting and all of that, 50% of you wants to be an actor or an actress. The other 50% wants to be an accountant. Be an accountant because you have to be 100% in. And that's so true, really, in anything in life, if you want to give it your best shot. So give it your best shot. We always talk about that here on the show. Kara is doing it. They're in Los Angeles, San Diego, and now Phoenix. And it was a pleasure to have her here on the show. Love talking to also fellow broadcasters as well. It's sort of a treat for me, your host and producer here. Thanks, gang. You are the best. Thanks for all these great comments coming in, everybody. I encourage you to give this episode a like. There is a like button on our YouTube channel on all 800 episodes. Gang, this is our 800th episode we have done in just 2.5 years. Remember, I had Loretta Swit on, star of MASH on CBS. They did 230 episodes in 11 years. We've done 800 in 2.5 years. That's amazing and really cool. So give us a thumbs up, give us a like, leave a comment for us as well. And be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It takes a village, Jim Masters TV. Subscribe. We would love that. That means the world to us as well. And big, big, big. Make sure when you do subscribe, you click the notification bell icon. There's a little bell icon there. Very important you do that, because when you do that, you'll be alerted, notified about all the episodes. So you'll never miss an episode of the Jim Masters Show live series. So again, we're celebrating 800 episodes. Really amazing. I cannot believe we've done 800 episodes of this series. That is incredible. Good stuff. All right, gang. Thanks for all these great comments. Sherry Larson in Kansas. Thank you, Jim. Good night. Good morning, everyone. Have a wonderful Wednesday. Sweet dreams, love and hugs. And we're celebrating 800 episodes, gang. That is amazing. Crystal in Connecticut. Thank you, Lara, for sharing your stories and passion. I wish you continued success in your career. Good to see you as well, Crystal. And again, thank you for the birthday card and those beautiful birthday gifts you sent. That was kind of you. And Louise here. Thank you, Jim and Lara. You are very welcome. Jane watching in Sweden, same thing. Thank you, Lara, for being here tonight. Thanks, Jim. The pleasure was ours. Yes. And Maureen, this has been such a fun conversation. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Maureen. Lara, I wish you continued success in everything you do. Sending you tight, lovely hugs. By the way, I'm now following you on IG. That was quick, Maureen. That's fantastic. Kathleen, thanks for being here. Lara, good luck with all you do. Nice to meet you as well. Kathleen in New York City, thank you for sharing your life and career with us, Lara. You're a talented, special lady. Good luck in all you do in the future. Yeah, these are some of our Lovity Squad members here on the show. Thanks, gang, for all of these incredible comments. Thanks for enjoying the show. And look at your screen, celebrating 800 episodes. That is a lot. I just can't believe the amount of shows. And when you look back at all the shows, so many incredible conversations, so many incredible guests, poignant moments, levity, lovity, surprises. We've had animals on this show. We've had food on this show. We've had kids on the show, adults, comedians, singers, actors, actresses, child stars, sports stars. I mean, we've had authors of all kinds. We've had people with inspiring stories. We've had entertainment galore, just like the old school talk shows. Johnny Carson, Dick Cavett. We don't call these interviews. We call these conversations on our Entertainment Lifestyle Variety Talk Show series. Crystal in Connecticut says, good night, Jim and Lovett. Thank you for another amazing show. Congratulations on 800 shows. What's amazing is this isn't even my full-time job. Like Lara, I have things that I do in the professional world in the day and then do this. But if you love it, so many people have said you're going to do this just during the pandemic. I said, as long as you guys are here and we continue to grow, look what has happened, and it continues. So we just love it. One of the few shows where we actually bring viewers in. We're not talking at you, we're talking with you. Congratulations on such a successful creation that is Lovity Hall. We love everything about you and your team, Jim. We're blessed by your dedication to the squad, the Lovity Squad. Thank you very much, Maureen. Love it as well. And Jane in Sweden. Time for a celebration of 800 shows, Jim. Absolutely. I agree. Kathleen Walker says in New York, congratulations, gentlemen, on an incredible 800 episodes. Thank you for all you do, bringing us together. We really appreciate you. Thank you, gang. This is really, wonderful. We appreciate all the lovity coming in from all around the world. Those who are commenting in our JMS Lovity Hall chat room, and those of you that just watch quietly. Not everybody comments. We know we have lots of viewers that just quietly watch, or you may be watching this later on in the archives. Leave a comment on our YouTube channel. Let us know how much you've been enjoying our series, all the episodes. Maybe this was one of your favorite episodes. Perhaps maybe there's other episodes you've enjoyed over the 2.5 years. I just can't believe it. Unbelievable. Just think, we're only 200 away from 1,000. Holy cow. I know, 1,000. What are we going to do for 1,000? Right? And same thing too with subscribers to our YouTube channel. When we hit certain milestones, we're going to have to do some big things, So keep telling your friends about our show. Keep telling them to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That helps us. Leave comments. All that really does help us as well. Now, Jane's asking, what animal did you have a conversation with? All of the dogs and the cats and the birds that have ended up on our guests' laps and on their heads and on their shoulders when the dog comes running in the room, or the cat ends up on their keyboard as they're trying to talk, or the child that came in for one of the guests, a Broadway actress, and she's talking and her child was banging on the door wanting to come in, and her husband was trying to keep him controlled, and he's 8 years old and he has a drum set in the other room, and his mom, I think it was Donna Vivino, she was on and we were talking, she had her headset on, and he comes running, bursts through the room, and he's trying to yank the headset off her head as we're talking live on the show, which was hilarious. And you can still see that episode way back, I think it's like 2 years ago, because he wanted his mommy, he wanted Donna to go in the other room because he's going to play the drums for his grandmother, who I think was in Florida, and he had seats set up, and he wanted our guest, Donna, to be in the room with him and his dad so she can watch him play the drums, and they were going to do a little Zoom thing, stream it or something, FaceTime for the grandmother. So even though she's live on our show, to him, 8 years old, he wanted to play the drums. He wanted mommy there. He's trying to yank the headphones off. It was hilarious. So, yeah, we've had a lot. And last night, Kermit the Frog was with us. Did you see that? That was kind of cool as well. So cool stuff, gang. We're going to step out. This is the Jim Masters Show here on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. Got another busy day tomorrow. I just want to show you something really exceptional. We have some extraordinary guests that are coming on. This is big news here. We have Jonathan Antoine. Jonathan Antoine was on Britain's Got Talent. He's a singing sensation, a classically trained British tenor. He's extraordinarily popular. And he's coming here at a very special time this Thursday. Jot it down, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, 8 p.m. in the United Kingdom. That's right. Jonathan Antoine. Google him. Look him up if you don't know about him. He's incredible. He was again on Britain's Got Talent. He's extraordinary. He has sold millions of albums. He's going to be here on Thursday. We actually have Double Lovity Day on Thursday. We have 2 shows because then we're back at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific with the Ambassador of Peace, author of Out of the Tunnel, the extraordinary Marvin Peake is going to be with us. He went from poverty, extreme poverty, to prosperity. He's extraordinary. He's built billion-dollar companies. He's really an incredible speaker, and he's a great guy. And he's going to be with us Thursday night. So on Thursday, folks, I'm working hard. We got Double Lovity Day on Thursday. Jonathan Antoine live from England, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, and 8 o'clock for those watching in Europe, in the UK. He's going to be here at 3. And then Marvin is going to be Thursday night. And then on Friday, Carol Grace Anderson is going to be with us. Extraordinary singer, songwriter, motivational speaker, and author of the book, Get Fired Up Without Burning Out. This is going to be an incredible conversation. She's all excited. She's going to sing on the show too, gang. That's on Friday, live at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, right here on the Jim Masters Show. And then on Saturday, coming to us also from England, we have the 1990s chart-topping Northern Irish English pop, rock, and dance group, Dream. Incredibly popular. They're making a comeback right now. They've got new music and a new album out. Huge in the 1990s, chart-topping group. And they're going to be coming to us live from the United Kingdom on Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, 8 p.m. for those watching in England and Ireland and Scotland. That is on Saturday. These are just some of the guests. I mean, we're booked all the way till mid-November, and it's just the start of October. So on Thursday, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Eastern time, Jonathan Antoine's going to be here. He's incredible. A lot of people are buzzing about this. They're talking it up. Big fans of Jonathan are spreading the word. Then on Thursday night, Marvin Peake's going to be here. An incredible guy, an incredible story. Friday, Carol Grace Anderson. And on Saturday, Dream is going to be here. That's going to be cool as well. All for you on the Jim Masters Show Live, Entertainment, Lifestyle, Variety Talk Show series, where we are bringing back the lost art of conversation for all of you. Cool stuff. All right, gang. You remember seeing him on Britain's Got Talent. Truly amazing. Yeah, Jonathan Antoine going to be here on Thursday, and it's going to be really, really fantastic. Good stuff. All right, gang. We love you all. Take care. As we always say, we never say goodbye around here. We say see you later. Ciao. Cheers. Hasta la vista. Sayonara. Shalom. Moilup. Slancha. Take care and be well. Be good to one another. Take care of one another. And of course, take care of yourself. Very important to take care of yourself. Very important. So make sure you do that and spread the sunshine and the levity around the world. We'll be back on our next episode. Spread the word, like, comment, subscribe, and love it. Love it all. It's going to keep coming your way. Thanks for being with us. We love you all. Take care and cheers.